Hello everyone, this is News Reporter Jack reporting to you live from Harlem, New York, like I do every week. But this week I have to tell you something. There's a tragedy going on. No money, no job. Can you believe that? And now I have a job here, and I'm here at the news station reporting to you the news. But today I have the sad news of telling you there's a young man who, he lost his job, and now he has to face something where there's no money and there's no job. As you can see, I'm here with Clark the squirrel, and even the squirrel has a job, but let's hope that he can find a job, because he doesn't have any money, and it must be terrible. Oh, I'm sorry everyone, but let's find out just what's happening. Well, hello everybody. This is Youth Pastor Emmanuel again, and as you just heard the news, my good friend Harvey lost his job, and he's going to have to find a new one, but that's okay. Now, News Reporter Jack always forgets to tell everybody that I'm going to be coming on here. But I want to talk about that. What happens when you lose something, or there's not enough money and there's no job? Now, during the Great Depression, African Americans went through a very hard period, very rough too. And this was because of the crash of Wall Street in 1929. But I want to go ahead and tell you that the Bible verse we're looking at today is Psalms 23, and you've probably heard it before, but I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right path for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. During a time of great need, this Bible verse assures us that God will take care of us. And as we're going to learn today, God took care of people in the 1930s and during the Great Depression. Despite having very little or next to nothing, God will provide for his people. God is our shepherd, which means he watches out for us and will make certain that even when we don't have enough, he'll make sure that we'll have enough to live off. Now, the term green pastures, and that's essential. Like if you were a sheep or something like that, that means that it puts you in a place that provides quality nutrition, support for your health, and makes you want to work more. Now, the reason why green pastures is important to sheep is because God wants to provide. This part tells us that God wants to make sure that we're eating well, or we have enough nutrition. Quiet waters, a place of rest, a place where we do not have to fear. God wants to give us rest in places where we feel anxiety and tension, or we're worried. God wants us to have rest. God also restores our soul and returns us to the starting point. Now what that means is that God wants to give us a new beginning. He wants to lead us into something great. The valley of darkness, or the valley of the shadow of death. Even though our lives are surrounded with hardship, we don't have to fear, because God has his rod and his staff will comfort us. Now the shepherd was the person that watched the sheep, and they usually had a rod and a staff, and it would protect them, or rod or a staff. It would protect the sheep from wolves or anything else. As long as they were near the shepherd and they could see the shepherd's rod or his staff, that would protect them. And we can eat in the presence of the things that trouble us. Even though we're surrounded with trouble, we can take comfort because God will care for us. Love and goodness will follow us all the days of our lives, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord. The house of the Lord is a place where we can live, and it's where our family is. It's a place that gives us hope and comfort. And that's what this Bible verse, Psalm 23, is all about. God made a way for African Americans to come through the Great Depression, and we're going to find out today just that God provided. And if God can provide for people then, He can provide for you now. So let's find out what's happening. We have to go to Calvin's house.
Okay, I just lost my job at the store, but I'll be okay. I'm just going to have to go to another store, see if I can find a job there, and I think it's going to be okay. Just to let everybody know, so you guys don't worry about me. My little brother, Calvin, is making a big deal about it, but I told him about Psalms 23, and I have nothing to worry about. Oh boy. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. Mr. Antonio's at my house, and he's talking to Calvin in a Delaware. I wonder how that's going.
Okay, now I'm here at Calvin's house, and I'm looking for a Delaware. Now I see a Delaware. I wonder where Calvin could be. Now his brother lost his job, and that reminds me of the Great Depression, when people, especially in New York City, a lot of people lost their jobs, and African Americans were affected by the Great Depression in very harsh ways. That's when Wall Street crashed in 1929. I wonder where that Calvin could be. I wonder where he could be. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, what I did was I locked myself in the room so that nobody can get in here, and I can play Madden football. You guys like to play Madden football? I'm playing Madden football 2025. Hey, wait a minute. Let me go over here. Turn on the computer. Wait a minute. Wait. Hey, I gotta turn this computer off. It's not working. Well, I gotta watch Mr. Antonio. Oh, no. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, Calvin's dad rigged the computer, so he had to learn, because Calvin is on a mission this whole year learning about African American history. And I wanted to tell him something. Now, the civil rights movement of the 1930s laid the foundation for later activism, combining legal action, grassroots organizing, and early protests against racial discrimination and violence. The 1930s were marked by the Great Depression, which disproportionately affected African Americans. About half of the unemployment in the 1930s was by African Americans. Racial tensions intensified as whites in northern cities demanded African Americans be fired from jobs, and lynchings surged in the South, rising from 8 in 1932 to 28 in 1933. Despite these hardships, the decade also saw new opportunities for political action among African Americans, Native Americans, Japanese Americans, and Filipino Americans who began forming coalitions to fight for equal rights. The NAACP played a large role in the 1930s, focusing on anti-lynching campaigns, legal challenges to segregation. Their efforts included publicizing the causes and cost of lynching, defeating Supreme Court Justice or nominee. His name was John J. Parker. He was a white supremacist, and they also had something called the National Negro Congress and other left-wing organizations, if that's what you want to call them. They also fought against racial violence and economic discrimination. Legal strategies for desegregation, particularly in education, were beginning to develop during this period, with figures like Charles Hamilton Houston. He laid the foundational groundwork that would eventually lead them to Brown versus the Board of Education. Legal activism emerged across the country. In North Carolina, African American ministers began to protest segregated seating in public events. This was as early as 1932. Activists like Ella Baker began working for the NAACP to investigate lynchings and push for federal protection. In Washington State, coalitions began to form that were opposing discrimination. And this was people like a guy by the name of Todd Bill, who sought to ban things like being racial discrimination. Now, that's what Todd Bill did. Well, I take that back. Todd Bill was really not a nice guy. He did some other things too, and let me tell you about Todd Bill. Todd Bill was a guy who sought to ban interracial marriages, and he also did some other things. But there was a lot of demonstrations going on, guys. And even though African Americans went through a very hard economic time and a very, very difficult period, as youth pastor Emmanuel told you, God made a way for them. Okay? But just wanted to let you know about Todd Bill. Oh, let's see. Maybe I can find Adela Ray. He might be able to tell you some more stuff too. Because Adela Ray is my top student.
Okay, this is Adela Ray, and I want you to know that historians, we're talking about the 1930s, they describe the 1930s as a long civil rights movement, emphasizing that the struggle for racial equality did not begin with the 1950s, but its roots were in the early decades of activism, economic struggle, and political organizing. This period established networks, strategies, and legal frameworks that would later support mass movements of the 1950s and 60s, highlighting intersection of economic justice and racial equality and the early civil rights efforts. In summary, the civil rights movement of the 1930s was characterized by legal advocacy, grassroots organizing, early protests against racial violence and discrimination, setting the stage, for the more widely recognized achievements of the 20th century. Hey, I wonder what happened to Calvin. I give up, everybody. I give up. This whole summer has been about learning and learning and learning. Well, hasn't been too bad. I think I've gotten better at Madden football. But it's just been a summer of learning more and more and more about my African American heritage. And I'm learning that African Americans overcame a lot. Hey! I wonder what Youth Pastor Emmanuel's doing.
Oh, wow. Well, I've got some good news for everybody. And we've always wanted to end with a bit of good news. Harvey got a new job, and as I understand, he's going to be working in a store. So that's a good thing. But I wanted to let you know that God wants to take care of us. And even though when we have trouble, we can rest assured, just like in Psalms 23, that God will be our shepherd and he will lead us and guide us. And when we are being led and guided by God, he's going to protect us too. Just as he protected African Americans in the 1930s, he's going to protect you who live here in the 21st century. So, you guys have a great day. And my friend Calvin, he's learning more and more about his African American heritage. I hope you learned something too. Just remember, no money, no job doesn't mean God doesn't care and won't protect and provide for you.